While there will always be winners and triumph, there will always be those that couldn't quite climb all the way to the top. Today, we're going to look at 5 of the best teams from the early 2000s till now that probably should have won a title, but just couldn't quite get it done. So, the Lob City Clippers may not have had the best record on this list, but they sure were fun to watch. Finishing with a season record of 56 wins, 26 losses is probably underachieving for a team with so many great names. Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford, Matt Barnes, Karen Butler, Lamar Odom, Chauncey Billups, Grant Hill, and Eric Bledsoe. Yes, you are hearing me right. Coached by Vinny Del Negro, the Clippers had a young, athletic, and dynamic core of Paul, Griffin, and Jordan, who were surrounded by savvy vets and sharp shooters. Griffin, Paul, and Jamal Crawford led the way in scoring for the Clippers, whilst also playing the most minutes. On paper, this was a deep team full of stars or former stars made for a title tilt. However, while compiling a solid record, the team was hit with injuries to key veteran stars and were bundled out of the first round of the playoffs. It was Del Negro's last season as coach before being replaced by Doc Rivers. LeBron James's Miami Heat went on to win the title that year. The Sacramento Kings were a powerhouse team in the early 2000s, having solid playoff runs but ultimately finishing short in 2001-2002. They had a roster of stars in their prime, with Chris Webber averaging a double-double and leading the scoring with 24.5 points per game. Peja Stojakovic was also impressive, with 21.2 points per game, both earning All-Star selections that year. The team also had young gun Mike Bibby leading the team in assists after crossing in a trade. The season was also one of Doug Christie's best, earning All-Defensive Team selection. However, the Kings were deep, with a supporting cast featuring Hedo Turkoglu, Vlade Divac, and Bobby Jackson, all who were capable of turning it on any given night. The Rick Edelman coached team ultimately fell short in the Western Conference Finals to eventual winners, the Lakers, in a fiery and controversial series, ending one of the most fun seasons for the Kings. Now this was a team to watch. With Mike D'Antoni's run and gun style, this team was not just fun, they were good. During the 04-05 season, they finished with a 62-20 record, in a period where they were consistently good without winning a title. The team was led by dynamite point guard and season MVP Steve Nash, who created a chemistry with young gun Amari Stoudemire, who led the team in scoring. Sean the Matrix Marion was the third superstar, averaging almost 20 points, in a deep team that also included sharpshooter Quinton Richardson, Leandro Barbosa, and young and impressive Joe Johnson. Coach Mike D'Antoni was named Coach of the Year, and it looked as though the Suns were headed to glory after sweeping the Grizzlies in the first round of the playoffs. However, they ended up losing in the Western Conference Finals to eventual winners San Antonio. This was personally one of my favourite teams to watch, and the 7 seconds or less offense was fun. It was hard to see this team and Nash get so close, but just not quite win a title. With James Harden gone from the previous season, Oklahoma City put up a very impressive 60-22 record, finishing first in the Western Conference. They still had 2 genuine superstars and 2 of the best players in the league in Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. But they also had very handy players in Serge Ibaka, Kevin Martin, Thabo Sefolosha, and Kendrick Perkins. It looked like Coach Scott Brooks had the perfect roster, with vets Nick Collison and Derek Fisher coming off the bench and mentoring their young stars. However, it all fell apart early in the playoffs when they lost Russell Westbrook to injury for the season and ended up being bundled out in the second round of the playoffs to the Grizzlies. The Miami Heat ended up winning that year. It's disappointing that this team couldn't quite get it done before they blew up their roster. Considering the caliber of players they had on the roster during this time, It really left us wondering just what could have been. The 06-07 Mavs finished first in the NBA's Western Conference, finishing with an impressive 67-15 and league best record. They were looking to go one step further than the previous year's finals runners-up. They were led by Dirk Nowitzki, who also took home the league's MVP award. They had impressive contributions from Josh Howard with almost 19 points per game and Jason Terry with 16.7. Other solid starters for this team were Devin Harris and Eric Dampier, with the luxury of Jerry Stackhouse off the bench. The Avery Johnson coached team looked destined for a long playoffs run, so it was a huge shock and one of the NBA's greatest upsets when they were beaten by the 8th-seeded Golden State Warriors in the first round. Whilst the Mavs were a strong basketball team over these years, it was not until 2011 that they became NBA champions with a significantly different lineup. So that ends our teams that came so close to winning or possibly underachieved from the early 2000s. These were some of the most memorable we could remember. What did you think? Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, we would love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel.